it's Bo. Welcome back to Bo's Books. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different. As many of you already know, the Magical Readathon, created by G over at Book Roast, is coming back in September. So we are going back to school. That means it's time to create our class schedule using our syllabus and choose our course load for the semester, or what G calls the Autumn Equinox. So a little bit about the Magical Readathon. G created this amazing role-playing readathon that gives this whole D&D energy, I believe 4 years ago, and it is amazing. It's such a perfect readathon for somebody who loves role-playing and D&D because there's so much lore that she has created to flesh out this world. So to join the readathon, you just need to create a character using a myriad of different options that G has created out of her beautiful, imaginative, creative brain. And you choose a background, choose a calling, choose a province and a heritage. And it's just like in D&D where you kind of choose a race and where you're from and what your character looks like and what's their role in life for adventuring. So that's kind of the same here. So the premise of the Magical Readathon is your character is going to school at Orilium, and this is a special magic academy, and you need to go on the novice path to get there. So that's an adventure all of its own just to make it there, because not everyone survives the novice path. But when your character completes it, you then arrive at Orilium, and it's this grand castle of an academy. And so once you're there, you choose a calling and you study to gain certifications in that calling. So I found out about the Magical Readathon, I want to say a week before April equinox this year. So I am late to the game because this has been going around for, I believe, 4 years now. So I barely found out about this, but it was perfect timing to create a character and start this year as a freshman, or what they call a novice at Orilium. So my character's name is Helayna Ravenwing, and she is an air earthling from Eartheria, and she has a wildling background. She was born during an eclipse, and she has a raven familiar. So she set out on the novice path, which was absolutely amazing. I highly encourage you, if you want to get involved with this, if you haven't already, to go back and participate in the novice path, because G created this fully fleshed out story where you go on this adventure, and it's basically a choose your own adventure where you get to read through the story and then you make a choice about what you would do in that situation, and then you continue the story and then make another choice, and by the end of it you essentially get sorted into one of the guilds at Orilium. So based on your choices, that's the guild that you get placed into or get invited into. So upon surviving the novice path, which I feel like honestly was my favorite part because I love a good choose your own adventure story, I got sorted into the Order of the Crescent. So that's my guild. And the calling I chose is Moon Warden. So this year at Orilium, I am studying to be a Moon Warden, and this will be my novice certification once I complete the Autumn Equinox, which takes place in September. So initially when I first joined, I was so excited. I literally crammed a week before April so that I would be prepared to join in the readathon along with everybody else, and I was so excited. And I really wanted to create a physical reading journal because I had seen everybody else doing one and I just fell in love with them. So I did start a physical reading journal, but I never got around to making the Magical Readathon spreads in my journal. So now that Autumn Equinox has come back around and it's time to go back to school, I thought, why don't I finally create my Magical Readathon spreads in my physical reading journal that I have been putting on the back burner for so long? So that's what I'm doing today. And so, this is kind of my first time doing a reading journal setup So I know that the camera angle is not the nicest, and next time I'll figure out how to make it look better and more straight on. So I do apologize about that. But, you know, it's a good first start, right? I do want to eventually do a full reading journal flip through where I show you guys my entire reading journal, but I think it'll be a lot more fun and exciting to see that at the end of the year once I've kind of completed everything that I'm doing for the year. It might be more interesting to look through and see everything that I've done. I didn't start the journal until April, but I did backfill a lot of like the yearly challenge things that I was doing. I don't have a lot of monthly spreads in it because honestly, I haven't been keeping up with that, but I do have some like year-long spreads in the journal. But anyways, back to the Magical Readathon spread. So what I wanted to do is at least do a couple spreads that kind of highlight a little bit of a scrapbook collection of what the readathon is all about, just so that I can kind of have a visual reminder. I would have loved to do it in the style of like my character's journal and she's keeping a scrapbook and these are the things that she's collecting, because I've seen other people do it that way and it's more like storytelling, and I love that so much. But honestly, because I'm so far behind and I'm trying to play catch up with everything, especially putting all these pages together, I felt like that was going to take way too long. So honestly, I just kind of rushed through it and just stuck everything on. I feel like if I would have taken more time to really plan it out and do something more creative, it would have been nice. But to be honest, I was just kind of wanting to get it done because I had been putting it off for so long, and I didn't want to give myself any reason to keep putting it off by overwhelming myself with it having to be a certain way or look a certain way. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to kind of scrapbook it in there and I'm not going to think too much about placement or anything. I just kind of want some of these key elements in my journal so I can stop procrastinating on it, essentially. So I started off by just kind of, putting the Orilium emblem at the front and, a whole map of Aldea, because that's the name of the world that G created for this readathon. And I believe her partner is the one who creates a lot of the art for this readathon. And so when you see the maps or the items, because there's a whole store called the Guild Emporium and you get points and you can literally use your points to purchase things at the Emporium, so your character can have items and scrolls and things to just kind of like flesh out your character and like role play story wise. Some of the scrolls you can actually use during the readathon to kind of help you with your reading, but a lot of the stuff is used for flavor. I haven't actually spent a lot of my points because I've just been kind of hoarding them because I can't decide what I actually want to use them on. So the only thing I've bought so far were 2 scrolls that actually helped me get through the spring equinox to help me complete my courses for that semester. And but as far as fun things to purchase for my character, I haven't used my points on that yet, so I don't have a lot of items to showcase. But going back a little bit, when you complete the novice path, you get sorted into a guild and then you get a conduit that helps you use your magic, and mine is a feather, and there's different ways to kind of figure out what you're going to get. And there's a whole thing with prompts, and you read books to kind of fulfill all these things. So even though we're starting the Autumn Equinox, I didn't want to just start there. I wanted to kind of like backfill a little bit because I didn't want to forget like the books that I read. I did want to highlight some of the things that I did during the spring equinox. So in spring, all of Orilium was working together to save dragons. And that was so much fun. We collectively had to read a certain amount of pages to save these dragons, essentially. And I think we read over 6 million pages as a group, and we were able to save, I want to say it was 6 different dragons. And then at the end of it, you got to take a quiz to see which dragon you bonded with, and you get to keep that dragon. So I ended up bonding with the Starlight dragon, which I was really excited about because I really think that dragon specifically fit my character the best. We were also able to keep the Trash Coon for free, which I loved. I thought the little Trash Coon is so cute. And then we also got to keep an impling for free. So that all happened during the readathon. There's a lot of other side quests and a lot of other things to explore in Orilium that you can do either during the equinoxes while the readathon is going live, or you can do like throughout the rest of the year. And since I've been playing catch up, I actually haven't done a whole lot. I'm not doing the year in Aldea adventure board, which is so cool looking, and I'm so sad that I'm not participating in it, but because I found it in April, I didn't want to backtrack, so I figured I'll just wait till January and I'll start fresh in the new year. It is honestly amazing to think of how much time, energy, creativity, and effort G has put into this readathon to make it so special for all of us. So I am just thrilled to have found it and be a part of it. So the next thing that I wanted to do essentially was create my syllabus for autumn. So in autumn, it's a little bit harder than the spring equinox because there's a few more class requirements in order to pass. You know, if you want to know the details about that, definitely go check out her videos, and she has a whole G drive with all this information, and there's just so much I could get into, and she's already done a brilliant job explaining it. There's a Discord full of people that you can ask questions there, because I still am new to all of it, so I wouldn't even be the best person to ask, honestly. I'm still figuring it out as I go. So G just came out with a video releasing the syllabus for autumn, and the syllabus essentially is the prompts for the classes that you need to take. So for my character, because she is studying to be a moon warden, her classes for Autumn Equinox is Astronomy, Restoration, Elemental Studies, and Spells and Incantations. And in Autumn, there's 3 levels for these classes: O's for Ordinary, Q's for Qualified, and D for Distinguished. So luckily, she doesn't have any Distinguished level courses, which means I don't have to read too many books. I actually only have to read 1 more book than I did in spring. So I did 5 classes in spring, which means I had to read 5 books. And for Autumn, I have to read 6. 2 books for astronomy, 2 books for restoration, 1 for elemental studies, and 1 for spells and incantations. And I'll just let you know that when I was actually in college, when it was time to choose my courses before each semester, honestly, that was my favorite thing to do. I was so excited to pick my classes and plan out my schedule and make sure everything was lined up, and what classes was I going to take and with what teachers, and did it all line up and fit together. It was just my favorite thing. I don't know why, but it brought me so much joy to create my schedule. So I have that same kind of joy in my heart right now, planning my course load once again in this imaginary school of make-believe. It allows me that same thrill of, seeing what my syllabus is and having to go through and choose what books that are going to be required for my classes, and it gives me that sense of choice but also that requirement. I don't know, it's just really exciting. Let me know down below if you also get that sense of joy when you do things like this, like whether it's planning out your class schedule for real life school, or if you did used to like that when you did go to school like I did, or even if it's just for planning your syllabus or your TBR for things like this, for readathons and everything. Like, it's just one of my favorite things to do, and I just get so much excitement in doing that. So I'm actually having a really good time going through this process of planning. Thank you so much for watching. I had a really fun time working on my journal, and I hope you enjoyed watching a little bit of my process. I do feel like keeping up with my physical reading journal is something that I'll want to showcase on my channel at least a few times throughout the year moving forward. So let me know if you did enjoy this and it is something that you would like to see. I'm thinking maybe doing it, once at the beginning of the year, once at the end of the year, and maybe like a mid-year check-in. Sometimes I do get lazy and don't update my physical journal, so of course this is all dependent on if I am keeping up with it. I do track my reading digitally using spreadsheets and reading apps, but there's just something about having a physical keepsake that is just so special and speaks to my creative soul. So it is something that I would love to continue to work on moving forward. If you are interested in seeing which books I actually choose for my Magical Readathon TBR, you'll have to tune in next week when I post my TBR game video for the month of September. I do have a TBR game on my channel that I created called Final FMC, which I will be playing every month to choose my TBR for the following month, and that is where I will be incorporating my Magical Readathon TBR. So if you enjoyed this and you are interested, please subscribe to my channel so that you get a notification to come back next week and see what books I actually will be reading to pass my classes at Orilium. Let me know down in the comments if you are also participating in the Magical Readathon for September, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!